Hello and welcome to my autumnal library vlog. Since I live on the border of 2 states, I'm lucky enough to have 2 very different public libraries to visit, so join me as we go exploring for fall and Halloween themed books. It's fun because one library is modern while the other is old-fashioned, so as you can about imagine, they are very different experiences and both satisfying in their own ways. First, I'm going to go to the modern one, which is in the town over, and then we will return home and walk to the historical library. Also, as you will notice very quickly, my favorite types of books are actually ones for middle grades and younger audiences. I think it's my favorite genre of book mainly because I read for the sake of cozy vibes, but also I think it's because I didn't like reading growing up. So it's like I'm making up for lost time with that level of book. Even though the books I'm mainly choosing today are for kids and teens, they still are enjoyable even for adults to read, so I hope these books inspire you to grab some cozy fall reads of your own too.
If you haven't read any of the Winnie the Pooh books, definitely recommend. I'm not going to check this one out because I already read it, but highly recommend for autumnal reads any of the Winnie the Pooh books. Spooky. I'm not super into graphic novels, but that's just because I've never tried them, so this one looks like a fun one for Halloween, so I think I'm going to try it.
Alright, one library down, now let's go to the historical library. This building has quite the history. This library has 2 parts to it. What is now the kids and young adult section, the part you're seeing here, is the original building and it was built in 1905. Then where the adult section, circulation desk, and most of the computers are now is a part of the library that was added on in the early 80s. It's such a cool building and I love going even just to look at its well-preserved state. It's actually been a few days since I've gone to both of those libraries, so I thought I'd take this time to show you all of the books that I ended up checking out, and that way you'll be able to see kind of what's on my TBR or my to be read for October and November, so the rest of fall pretty much. This is more my wish list of things I would like to read that I am interested in. So a couple of these I have read as of now, and some of them are from series that I have read before, so I'll let you know when it's something that I am more familiar with, so I can't fully recommend something I haven't read to you before. So just keep that in mind. This is more my wish list / what I'm going to be reading. Some of these books are more Halloween themed, and then some of these are more just general fall themed. So now that it is October, I'm going to be prioritizing those more Halloween-y picks and then saving my more general fall ones for a little bit later. I have been reading some of them and have finished a couple already, so I'll show you those as well, of course. So I'll start off with the general fall picks and the ones that I got at the more old-fashioned library. And by the way, this is my cat Arthur. He wanted to be a part of this, so there you go. So first up we have Thimbleberry Stories by Cynthia Rylant, and this is a picture book, and of course anything with woodland critters just screams fall to me, so I will be flipping through this one probably just in one quick sitting. And based off the illustrations I've seen so far, it almost looks more like a spring summer book, but I still think it's cute nonetheless. This is so adorable. So this is the main character, Nigel the chipmunk, so I think that'll be an enjoyable quick fall read. At least based off of the cover, this one is reminding me of Anne of Green Gables. This is called Mina's Patchwork Coat. I think this would be a good late November, early December read because it is about a winter coat and it kind of takes place when it is cold outside. Mina and her family don't have much in their small Appalachian cabin, but people only need people, Papa always says. Unable to afford a warm winter coat, Mina is forced to give up her dream of going to school until her neighbors work tirelessly to help create a quilted coat out of old fabric scraps. But even that might not be enough to cut through the long-held prejudice of Mina's new classmates. Can she make them see beyond the rags to the girl with a special story inside? Uplifting tale about a resilient girl, her patchwork coat, and how the two can bring a community together. So I think that sounds very charming. Oh, and I didn't mention before, but this is written by Lauren A. Mills. This one I had spotted at Barnes & Noble and wanted to see if my library had it so I could check it out instead of purchasing it. But this one is called Snow and Rose, and it's written by Emily Winfield Martin. Most people know a lot about the fairy tale Snow White, but not many have heard of her sister, Rose Red. So apparently they are sisters, they are opposites, and they live in the forest. So what I think this is about from reading the premise of the book is that their father disappears into the woods, which causes their mother to fall in despair. So apparently the two sisters, Snow White and Rose Red, have to break a set of evil spells. Anything that takes place in a forest or involves some magic is very autumnal to me, so I think that will be fun. Speaking of magical forests, here is another one I picked up that I had actually seen at Barnes & Noble first and decided to check the library before purchasing. This is The Time of Green Magic by Hilary McKay, and this one is apparently about a girl named Abby who her father remarries and she finds herself being the middle child all of a sudden, and so they move into an ivy-covered house, and apparently there are secrets and magic involved with this eerie, spooky house that they move into. So again, another good example of a magical, foresty fall read. Now this is a wonderful example of good marketing. I am not normally someone who reads romances, and to be honest, I probably am not going to like these. I tend to stay just in the middle grades. I am not a romance person at all, nor am I even like an adult book person normally, so I don't know. I'm gonna give it a try just because this cover is too enticing. This is The Bake Shop at Pumpkin and Spice, and I think it's a collection of 3 stories inside. That's why they've got the 3 authors, Donna Kaufman, Kate Angel, and Allison Charles. So the back of this book says, witches, goblins, and the occasional ghost. They're all sure to be spotted at the annual Halloween parade, where adults and children alike dress in costume to celebrate Moonbright's favorite holiday. And no place has more seasonal spirit than Bella Luna's Bake Shop, a family business steeped in traditional recipes, welcoming warmth, and, legend has it, truly spellbinding, heart-melting treats. Between good-natured Halloween tricks, frothy pumpkin lattes, and some very special baked goods, for 3 Moonbright residents looking for love, whether they know it or not, the spookiest thing will be how magical romance can suddenly be. I love the environment and the scene setting, and so, I don't know, it sounds pretty corny, but I mean, I like Twilight, so I'll give it a chance. This says ages 8 through 12, which ironically is a little more my speed in terms of just cozy reading. Once in a while, I will read like a more deep, educational, intense book. I just like residing here because it's nostalgic, and I just love feeling like I'm a kid, so these kind of transport me me in that way. So that's where I'm at. This is The Pumpkin War. This is by Kathleen Young, and each summer, 12-year-old Billy grows a 1,000-pound pumpkin to hollow out and race across the bay in the annual Madeline Island Pumpkin Race. I mean, I don't even need to say more, so that's why I'm reading this. And then this one looked interesting. This is Philip Pullman, The Scarecrow and His Servant. So I'm kind of getting Wizard of Oz meets Frosty the Snowman vibes. Essentially, a scarecrow comes to life and has some adventures, so I'll be reading that probably in November. Had I gotten this one in September, I probably would have read it in the earlier part of fall. It seems like a good summer into fall read. I'd seen this one at Barnes & Noble and grabbed it from the library. This is Summer of 1,000 Pies, and it is written by Margaret Dillaway. When I read this one, I'm definitely gonna need some pumpkin or apple pie on hand because I'm seeing lots of imagery of pies. It looks so good. Summer of 1,000 Pies is a sweet and satisfying treat of a novel full of friendship, family, and of course, pie. She isn't used to stability after growing up homeless in San Diego with her dad. Now she's staying in her mother's old room, exploring the countryside filled with apple orchards, making friends, and working on Aunt Shell's own pie shop, and soon she starts to feel like she belongs. Then she finds out the pie shop is failing, so you can about imagine what happens next is that it's probably going to be a save the pie shop kind of book. So this one was an unexpected one. I didn't know I was going to be getting this, so I had actually submitted to my library a purchase request for the new release of the Star Friends series. So I didn't even realize that it had been released when I did my library haul, and it was sitting on the hold shelf for me, so I was so excited. I love Star Friends. So this series is essentially following a group of girls who gets paired up with these magical animals called star animals. So these girls are all the Star Friends, and it says, every so often, young star animals from the star world travel to the human world to try and find a star friend, which is a child who believes in magic. So essentially, with the help from their forest companions, they are able to access this magical current and use their magic for good to help do good deeds or prevent bad magic from happening in their town. So they're really charming. They're not difficult to read at all. They're page turners, and they usually have a little bit of a mystery involved as well. So this is book 9 of the series, and the next one I think is going to come out in January, so I'm patiently waiting for that one next, but this is book 9 of the series. I already read and finished this since checking it out, so I'm gonna return that already. Switching to the more Halloween side of things, we're still at the old traditional library, by the way. We have Eva Evergreen, the Semi-Magical Witch by Julie Abe, and this one is looking like, at least from the cover, a little bit like Kiki's Delivery Service. Eva Evergreen is determined to earn the rank of Novice Witch before her 13th birthday, and if she doesn't, she'll lose her magic forever. The only problem, Eva only has a pinch of magic. She summons heads of cabbage instead of flowers, and gets a sunburn instead of calling down rain, and to add insult to injury, whenever she overuses her magic, she falls asleep. So it sounds like it's pretty much a story of her kind of learning about herself, learning how to use her powers. So it sounds like she ends up setting a magical repair shop and is helping the townspeople, but eventually something happens in the town, and hopefully she figures out how to use her magic in time to help save the townspeople. This is kind of Halloween. This could be regular fall, but it's a little bit Halloween. This is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill, and at first when I read the premise it sounded a little bit creepy, but then I realized quickly that it's more wholesome than it sounded at first. Every year the people of the Protectorate leave a baby as an offering to the witch who lives in the forest. When I read that I was like, that does not sound good. But the witch in the forest is kind. She rescues the children and delivers them to welcoming families on the other side of the forest, nourishing the babies with starlight on the journey. Except apparently something goes awry. One year she accidentally feeds a baby moonlight instead of starlight, filling the ordinary child with extraordinary magic. She decides she must raise this girl, who she calls Luna, as her own. As Luna's 13th birthday approaches, her magic begins to emerge with dangerous consequences. So you kind of get the gist of what this is about. This is going to make a good October read, in my opinion. This one is called Dreaming Dangerous, and I'm almost wondering if it seems a little bit like a dark academia except for kids kind of book. Tucked deep in the woods and surrounded by a great iron fence lies Brassmere Academy for the Extraordinary, a school for orphans who have strange and wonderful gifts. 12-year-old Plum has lived here for as long as she can remember. Each night she ventures into her dreams alongside with her 3 best friends, Vienne, Gwendol, and Artem. They fight monsters and journey on dangerous quests. But one night, Plum gets a mysterious warning that she and her friends are no longer safe, and the next morning, Artem is nowhere to be found. Sounds very October-y to me. This is the first in a series that's quite old school. I think it's actually from the 70s. This is Jill Murphy's The Worst Witch. It's definitely one that you can do in one sitting really fast. Similar premise to the other witch stories that I have. It's pretty much a witch witch academy, there's a witch that's not very good at using her powers, and you can kind of fill in the blanks from there. This is called The International House of Dereliction by Jacqueline Davies, and this one apparently follows a 10-year-old girl who is used to moving into new houses, and apparently her family fixes them up, but when they come across their 11th house, in the attic they find 3 ghosts who are ready to move on and they need her help. So we're hoping that the main character Alice is able to find the mysteries and secrets about the house and help her ghost friends find peace. Another Halloweeny ghost story. This is Ghost Squad by Claribel Ortega. I love this inside. It says it has the family dynamics of Coco and action-packed adventure of Ghostbusters. Claribel Ortega delivers thrillingly spooky and delightfully sweet debut novel. So apparently it's right before Halloween. The main characters accidentally cast a spell, awakening malicious spirits, wreaking havoc, of course. Now get this, they have to join forces with the grandmother witch and her tubby tabby named Chunk.
Are you a tubby tabby named Chunk? No, you're skinny.
Kind of. They're a little bit on the juvenile side, but it's still enjoyable nonetheless, especially for Halloween. So this is the Amelia Fang series. As you had seen in the footage, I've already read the first one, so that's what the first one looks like. But this is Amelia Fang and the Unicorns of Glitteropolis and Amelia Fang and the Memory Thief. I was surprised to find this one at my library. This is one that I had on my wish list based off of my Barnes & Noble trip. This is Garlic and the Witch. It looks so cute. It's a graphic novel, so it's like a comic book like this. So this is definitely one you could do in 1 or 2 sittings. At Barnes & Noble, there was another one in the series, Garlic and the Vampire and Garlic and the Witch, which is this one here. But I'm just loving the illustrations. I think that's going to put me in the perfect spooky Halloween mood. Okay, we're switching libraries now. Now I'm going to show you the books that I got from the more modern library, starting with the general fall category. So this graphic novel I've already read and finished. This is called Pumpkinheads. It's written by Rainbow Rowell and illustrated by Faith Erin Hicks, and I just loved the illustrations and the setting of it takes place in a pumpkin patch, and essentially these 2 high schooler friends, they are seasonal friends where they only see each other when they are working at this pumpkin patch. They don't go to school together or anything. The plot was kind of like whatever. It was more about the illustrations and just the cozy fall vibes for me. Just to give you an idea of the illustrations, here is a map of the pumpkin patch that they work in. So cute. So this is the one I'm reading currently. I'm about halfway through it. This is Skunk and Badger by Amy Timberlake, and it's illustrated by John Klassen, and I really like this so far. So it's kind of like a cross between Wind in the Willows and Frog and Toad. I feel Frog and Toad is for very young readers, while Wind in the Willows requires a little bit of a higher reading level. It's kind of like the perfect blend of the two, both plot-wise and in terms of the audience it's intended for. That is Skunk and Badger. I also grabbed the sequel to it, which is called Egg Marks the Spot. Next up, we have Journey Beyond the Burrow, and once again with the Woodland Critters. I did actually start reading this and I put it on pause for now because I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to handle it. Of course, as you can probably tell, it's G-rated and I don't think anything super terrible happens, but I don't know, when it comes to critters getting hurt or going through adventures that are stressful or too much turmoil, I get a little bit sensitive about that, so I'm not sure if I'm going to continue reading it. As I said, I read the first few chapters and it was enjoyable. I just don't like too much turmoil for the poor little critters. That's just a me thing. This one is called A Game of Fox and Squirrels by Jen Reese, and this is also another book about a girl having to go off to an aunt that she doesn't really know well. Another one of the books in my haul had that same kind of trope. But essentially, this one says, after an incident shatters their family, 11-year-old Samantha Littlefield and her older sister Caitlin are sent to live in rural Oregon with an aunt they've never met. Sam wants nothing more than to go back to the way things were before she spoke up. When Aunt Vicky gives Sam a mysterious card game called A Game of Fox and Squirrels, Sam falls in love with the animal characters, especially the charming trickster Fox, which I assume that's him right there. Then one day, he shows up in Sam's room and offers her an adventure and promise. Find the golden acorn and Sam can have anything she desires, but the fox is hiding rules that Sam isn't prepared for. And her new home feels more welcoming than she'd ever expected. As Sam is swept up in the dangerous quest, the line between magic and reality grows thin. If she makes the wrong move, she'll lose far more than just a game. I think this is one of the ones I'm tempted by the most and the most curious. So the main character is actually this tree right here. So this is called Wish Tree by Catherine Applegate. Red is an oak tree who is many rings old. Red is the neighborhood wish tree. People write their wishes on pieces of cloth and tie them to Red's branches. Along with a crow named Bongo, I love that, and other animals who seek refuge in Red's hollows, this wish tree watches over the neighborhood. You might say Red has seen it all, until a new family moves in. Not everyone is welcoming, and Red's experience as a wish tree is far more important than ever. Definitely excited to read a book that comes from the point of view of a tree. And then I just have 3 more, and they're all graphic novels for Halloween. Again, we've got another one that follows the trope of a witch in progress. This is a graphic novel called The OK Witch, written by Emma Steinkellner. Here's kind of what the graphics look like inside, and it looks like there's a black cat character in there, which looks really cute. So apparently it's about a 13-year-old who discovers that witches are actually real and that she is a witch. So I got the first one as well as the sequel, which is called The OK Witch and the Hungry Shadow. Last but not least, I've got a Dracula themed one. I had a lot of witches, but finally we've got a vampire one. So this is Princess Decomposia, oh boy, and Count Spatula by Andy Watson. This one sounds like it's gonna be pretty comical. It says, Princess Decomposia is on the verge of a nervous breakdown. Even though she has plenty of her own work to do, Decomposia seems to always end up doing her father's job too. The king doesn't feel good, you see, ever. So the princess is left scurrying through the halls, dodging her mummy, werewolf, and ghost subjects, always running behind and always buried under a ton of paperwork. Enter Count Spatula. This charming go-getter chef is determined to help Princess Decomposia to sort out her life. Andy Watson's tale of friendship, family, and management training for the undead is sweet and satisfying, just like Count Spatula's souffles. So it sounds like there may even be some cooking and baking involved as well. Thank you so much for watching this library vlog all the way until the end of the video. I think even Arthur got tired of listening to me talk, so he ended up bouncing part of the way through. But yes, thank you so much for watching, and let me know down in the comments below, what book or books do you plan on reading for the rest of October and into November? I love to see what everyone is reading, and I will see you in my next video. Until next time, bye!